Good afternoon everyone, my name is Jason Heryadi and today I will be discussing about acid and base. The first one is definition of acid and base. There are three scientists that introduced about acid and base. First one is Svante Arrhenius. According to him, acid is a substance that produces hydrogen ion when dissolved in water, while base is a substance that produces hydroxide ion when dissolved in water. Second one is Johannes Bronsted and Thomas Lowry. According to them, acid is a substance that can donate protons, while base is a substance that can accept protons. The third one is Gilbert N. Lewis. According to him, acid is a substance that accepts electrons, while base is a substance that donates electrons. Chemical reaction that involve acids and bases. There are 8 reactions of acid and bases. First one is reaction of acid with reactive metals. The formula is metal plus acid forming salt plus hydrogen gas. For example, magnesium in solid form plus H2SO4 in aqueous form forming MgSO4 plus hydrogen gas. Second one is reaction of acid with carbonates. The formula is carbonate plus acid forming salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. For example, CaCO3 or carbonate in solid form plus HCl in aqueous form forming CaCl2 plus H2O or water plus carbon dioxide CO2. Then it becomes CaCO3 solid form plus 2 HCl in aqueous form forming CaCl2 plus H2O plus CO2. I put 2 in there because there are 2 hydrogen atom in right side and 2 chlorine atom in right side so that the reaction is stabilized. The third one is reaction of acid with bicarbonate. The formula is bicarbonate plus acid forming salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. For example, NaHCO3 plus HCl in aqueous form forming NaCl plus H2O plus CO2. Chemical reaction that involve acid and bases. The fourth one is reaction of acid with metallic oxide. The formula is metallic oxide plus acid forming salt plus water. For example, ZNO in solid form plus H2SO4 in aqueous form forming ZnSO4 plus H2O. Fifth one is reaction of acid with metallic hydroxide. The formula is metallic hydroxide plus acid forming salt plus water. For example, ZnOH2 plus NHO3 in aqueous form forming ZnNO3 plus H2O. The sixth one is neutralization reaction. Formula acid plus base forming salt plus water. 7.1 is reaction of base with ammonium salt. Formula ammonium salt plus base forming salt plus water plus ammonia gas. For example, CaOH2 plus NH4Cl forming CaCl2 plus H2O plus NH3 in gas form or ammonia gas. Then it becomes CaOH2 plus 2 NH4Cl forming CaCl2 plus 2 H2O plus 2 NH3 in gas form or ammonia gas. Put coefficient 2 in there so that it stabilizes the reaction. The eighth one and last one is reaction of base with a metal salt. The formula is salt 1 plus base forming salt 2 plus metallic hydroxide. For example, FeSO4 plus NaOH forming Na2SO4 plus FeOH2. Then it becomes FeSO4 plus 2 NaOH forming Na2SO4 plus FeOH2. We put 2 in there so that it stabilizes the reaction. Next is chemical calculation involving acids and bases. First is number of replaceable ions, or it's called No Rpi. Refers to the total numbers of positive or negative charge of the ions that compose a compound. The units is equivalent per mole. Example, number 1 HCl in aqueous form is equal to 1 equivalent per mole. It's because H have 1 atom and chlorine have 1 atom. So 1 times 1 is equal to 1. Second one is AlOH3 is equal to 3 equivalent per mole. Because Al have 1 atom and OH is 3 atom. So 3 times 1 is equal to 3 equivalent per mole. The third one is MgPO4 The magnesium have 3 atoms, then the PO4 have 2 atoms. 3 times 2 is equal to 6 equivalent per mole. Second one is equivalent mass, or EQM. Refers to the ratio between the relative mass of a given substance and its number of replaceable ions. The units is in gram per equivalent. The formula for equivalent mass is molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions. Example, calcium nitrate or CaNO3 2. First, we find the molar mass. Ca is 40 plus nitrogen 14 times 2 plus oxygen 16, 3 times 2, 6, 16 times 6 is equals to 164 gram per mole. Then, number of replaceable ions, it's 2 equivalent per mole because Ca have 1 atoms and NO3 have 2 atoms. So 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Equivalent mass is equal to molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions. It's equal to 164 divided by 2. It's equals to 82 gram per equivalent. The third one is number of equivalents, or NOEQ. Refers to the ratio between the given mass of a substance and its equivalent mass. The units is equivalent. The formula of number of equivalent is mass divided by equivalent mass. For example, what is the number of equivalent of 20.5 gram barium hydroxide, or BaOH2? First, we find the molar mass. Barium is 137, oxygen 16 times 2, plus hydrogen 1 times 2 is equal to 171 gram per mole. Then we find number of replaceable ions. It's equal to 2 equivalent per mole. It's because Ba have 1 atom and hydroxide have 2 atoms. So 2 times 1 is equal to 2 equivalent per mole. Then we find equivalent mass. Molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions. It's equals to 171 divided by 2. It's equal to 85.5. We round off to 86 gram per equivalent. To find number of equivalent, we use the formula mass divided by equivalent mass. Substitute the number 20.5 divided by 86 is equal to 0.238 equivalent. Fourth one is normality. Fourth. Refers to the number of equivalent of solute per liter of a solution. The units is equivalent per liter. The formula of normality is number of equivalent divided by volume in liter. Or the other formula is mass times number of replaceable ions. For example, number 1. Calculate the normality of a 500.0 ml solution made by dissolving 200.0 gram of sulfuric acid in water. First, we find the molar mass. Sulfuric acid is also known as H2SO4. So hydrogen 1 times 2 plus sulfur 32 plus oxygen 16 times 4 is equal to 98 gram per mole. Then we find number of replaceable ions is equal to 2 equivalent per mole. Then equivalent mass is equal to molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions is equal to 98 divided by 2 is equal to 49 gram per equivalent. Then we search number of equivalent. 200.0 divided by 49 is equal to 4.082 equivalent. Then to find normality, we use the formula of number of equivalent divided by volume in liter. Substitute the number 4.082 divided by 0.5000 is equal to 8.164 equivalent per liter. Second example, how many grams of acetic acid or CH3COOH must be dissolved in water to produce 2.00 times 10 raised to 2 milliliter of 0.685 normality. Given volume is 2 times 10 raised to 2 is equal to 200 milliliter. Then we divide by 1000 to get 0.2 liter. Normality is equal to 0.685 normality. Molar mass of acetic acid is carbon 12 times 2 plus hydrogen 1 times 4 plus oxygen 16 times 2 is equal to 60 gram per mole. Then we find number of replaceable ions is equal to 1 equivalent per mole because CH3COOH is one substance or compound. Then equivalent mass is equal to molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions is equal to 60 divided by 1 is equal to 60 gram per equivalent. Then we use the formula of normality is equal to number of equivalent divided by volume in liter to find number of equivalent. Then we substitute the number 0.685 is equal to number of equivalent divided by 0.200. Number of equivalent is equal to 0.685 times 0.2 is equal to 0.137 equivalent. Then we use the formula number of equivalent is equal to mass per equivalent per mass to find the mass of acetic acid. So 0.137 is equal to the mass divided by 60. Mass is equal to 0.137 times 60 is equal to 8.22 gram. The third one is What is the normality of a 0.120 molarity aqueous solution of phosphoric acid or H3PO4? Given molarity is equal to 0.120 molarity, the number of replaceable ion is 3 equivalent per mole because hydrogen have 3 atoms and PO4 have 1 atom. So 3 times 1 is equal to 3. Then use the other formula of normality is mass times number of replaceable ions. Molarity times number of replaceable ions. 0.120 times 3 is equal to 0.360 Newton. Normality. The fourth one is calculate the normality of a 600.0 milliliter solution made by dissolving 100.0 gram of hydrochloric acid. First, we find the molar mass. Hydrochloric acid is also known as HCl. So hydrogen have 1 plus chlorine is 35. So it's equal to 36 gram per mole. Then we find number of replaceable ions. It's equal to 1 equivalent per mole because hydrogen have 1 atom and chlorine have 1 atom. So 1 times 1. Then equivalent mass is equal to molar mass divided by number of replaceable ions. 36 divided by 1 is equal to 36 gram per equivalent. Then we find number of equivalent is equal to mass divided by equivalent per mass. Is equal to 100.0 divided by 36 equal to 2.778 equivalent. Then we use the formula normality is equal to number of equivalent divided by volume in liter. It's equals to 2.778 divided by 0.600 is equal to 4.630 normality. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope that you understand what I'm explaining, and thank you.